Hey y'all, I am Samantha. I'm so glad that you joined me today. So today we're going to go ahead and dive into all things PT, specifically right now 10 tips to get you into PT school. And this relates to any kind of profession, whether PT, OT, speech therapy, PA, med, pharmacy, veterinarian, whatever you call it, okay? So to dive in, we're going to go ahead and touch on the first topic of the 10, and that is to dismantle any lies that are spoken over you. It is so important to do that because this is a mind game, and knowing that, you have to make sure that you're cautious of what you're putting in because your input is your output. If you are eating donuts 24/7, look what's going to come out. If you are eating healthy foods and then you take cheat days here and there, you are going to have energy. You know, it's things simple as that, even though that was not the best analogy. But what I'm trying to say is that you have to literally break down any lies that anyone has spoken over you, whether it's family, whether it's peers, whether it's yourself, whether it's people that you may or may not know, and social media even. And the reason why I say that is because when it comes to this process, you're writing about yourself. You're talking about why you deserve to have a place in a specific program at a specific school. So that being said, you have to put your best foot forward. You cannot go ahead and say, oh, well, I mean, this person said this about me and I think this is my identity. First of all, you need to know who you are. And if you're still wondering who you are and like what you can accomplish or what you encompass, then go ahead and pray over it and work on that. I understand it's a process, but it's so detrimental because what happens is you start to think of those things and then you don't even start to actually love yourself. You don't give yourself that grace. You don't give yourself that extra push. You don't give yourself that motivation, and you really need that. My second point is stop being in control. Stop being in control. This requires surrendering. I don't mean surrender as in I am weak and I'm literally having a, what is this thing called? A flag? Honey, no. Surrender as in, look, there's only so much I can do as a human. And I don't know what your belief system is, but I believe in Christ. And I know that there's only so much I can do and that he's going to let everything else fall into place as it should, or if it should not for that season. There are some things you can be in control of. Your grades, to an extent, you know, because there are external factors that happen or internal things. You can be in control of the company you keep. You can be in control of the hours that you get. You see what I'm saying? There are certain things that you can be in control of, but you have to realize that this is not a one-man show. And that for me, at least, I can say my testimony is, and I can definitely share that with you guys in another video if you'd like me to. Just go ahead and leave in the comments or give me a thumbs up and I will know, you know, whether I should do this video or not. But there's only so much you can do, and you just need to know that you put your best foot forward, and whatever happens, happens, okay? So give yourself some grace and just go in there with the right attitude when you're applying to school. And the third thing that I have is to look at your stats as a propelling force. Take your rejections as protection. Okay, look at your stats as a propelling force. Take your rejections as protection. What that means is, I'll tell you what it means to me. What it means is I applied twice, got rejected 12 times, but guess what? I'm literally in the place that I prayed for. So that being said, there are reasons why some things happen. There are reasons why you got accepted the first time, or this is your second time going on, or it's your third, or you're thinking of applying. And like, it's not bad if you're thinking of it or you have all these thoughts and what if situations. But what it means is that when you get rejected, because you may get rejected, do not take that as defeat. Do not take that as I am a failure and I suck and I'm never going to be a physical therapist and my life is a mess and I don't know what to do. Because honestly, you may experience emotional up and down, like downhills and uphills, but what do you do with that? That goes back to what you control, what you can control and what you can react to, okay? And when you think of your statistics, what I mean by that is if you have a high GPA and a high GRE score, then kudos to you. That is wonderful, honestly, but a majority of us don't, okay? To be realistic with you. So a lot of us have either average or below the GPA or GRE that is required for certain programs. And that being said, you have to be real with yourself, acknowledge that this happened, but see what can you do next. It's not to just be stagnant and boohoo and cry, but it means that you should see, okay, this is what's in front of me. I have a 3.0 0 GPA, and I have a 126, if that's even possible, on my GRE. So what can I do? There are so many resources out there, free as well as those that cost. You know your learning style, or you're figuring it out. Go ahead and take advantage of that. Learn your statistics, be accepting of your statistics, and know how you're going to progress from that. That brings me to my fourth point, which is to do your research. Look at schools that would ideally work with your GPA and your GRE. Oh my gosh, do your research. Honey, do your research, and everything that you do your research. Please, I beg you. Go ahead and do your research. What I did, and this is something that you should consider as well, is consider your stats, consider your GRE, and narrow it down to 5 schools. Because what happens is the more you apply, the more money they're taking out from you. PT-CAS and whatever kind of centralized system that you use to apply are all businesses, and they want your money, okay? They want your money, even if you're not going to make it into a specific program. So at least be smart of that, or keep that in mind, knowing, okay, if they want my money, how can I make sure that I'm not the one getting punked in this situation? That's probably not the best terminology to use, but it does help because you're not scatterbrained. You actually set on 5 different schools. You can go ahead and see what their acceptance rates are, their passing rates, things like that, if it's a good fit for you, and just try. You know, I'm not saying that you should limit yourself. I'm not saying you should settle, but you have to be real. If there's a school that says that they have a 3.8 requirement and they're not looking at GREs and you don't have that, honey, taking a GRE is not going to help because they're not looking at it. So you have to be realistic with yourself. And that takes me to number 5, which is get to work. Get the hours, the letters of recommendation, which by the way are acquired by relationships. So, and this is a 2-part actually, because the second part of this number 5 is to check out pre-PT grind and other PT related pages. So we're going to go ahead and break it off. Get to work and get the hours. Put yourself in a physical therapist position or whatever kind of profession you want to be into. If there's somebody who is shadowing you and they're just walking up and down, just looking at you, they're not really engaging in conversation, they're just there just to be there, you know honestly with yourself that you're really not fond of them, right? Or if they ask you for a recommendation letter, you're not going to say no more than likely, but you're not going to put your best foot forward. And I think that has to go with being a people person. If you find out, for example, that there is a physical therapist who can write a PT recommendation letter for you for PT-CAS, and you haven't really had a relationship with them, I'm not saying you shouldn't go ahead and ask them, but the chances of them having a strong letter of recommendation is pretty low. I will say from my own experience, I applied the first time and I thought I had a solid relationship with some of them. But the thing is also, they didn't know me. I didn't open up to them. I was just that fly on the wall. So you have to put that in consideration. The second time around, did I do that? No, because I had relationships, honey. But what I'm trying to tell you, or at least instill in your mind, is that if you know, for example, that you want this person to write a recommendation letter for you, don't be fake. Be honest with yourself. Have good vibes, good energy, and hopefully that will spread on the paper when they write you a letter of recommendation. And the second part is to check out pre-PT grind or any PT related pages. The internet is amazing, okay? That's how we can interact even though I don't see you physically. And knowing that there are PT pages, whether it's through Pinterest, I don't know if that's even a thing really, TikTok now, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, there's so many, Facebook, there's so many areas where you can look and see and connect with people who are in a similar position as you. I will advocate for pre-PT grind 24/7. Why? Because I don't do fake. I like people that genuinely want to help you, and if they don't want to help you, let them at least give you a little nugget or there. And that brings me actually to my next point, which is to reach out to administrative personnel and or students who are in the program via email, DM, or if you can get a phone number, then do that. The reason why I say that is because when I narrowed my search to 5 programs, I reached out to all 5 admissions personnel. Not only that, but I reached out to professors. Even before I even narrowed my 5, the first time I applied, I literally emailed at least 3 professors from every school. Why? Because I wanted my name out in the door. Did I do it the right way? I don't know, but I do know that my email or my name was in their email box, so that made me happy. But in all honesty, it does help to reach out to the person who's in charge of the admissions or the person that's on the APTA website when you search the school, because they have a lot of insight. They have power, like they carry weight. So you want to make sure that you get any information that you can in a respectful way, not just because you want to just take, but because you actually care and you want to gain knowledge on this subject. When it comes to students, you can definitely go onto Instagram pages, Facebook pages if they're open, and see who follows these schools. You can see who was even tagged on their page, like in terms of the program. You will find people who are current students or alumni of that program. Feel free to reach out. If you have any questions, how did this feel? What are the chances of this? Interview time, like what can you expect? Go ahead and do that, because you're honestly limiting yourself by not reaching out. So the 7th one we have is to do not compare yourself to the point where you start to talk down on yourself. I bring that and I'm going to speak on it very quickly, but it's a very heavy subject. Your lane is your lane. Where God wants you to be is where God wants you to be. You're not competing with anybody. You're focusing on yourself, on your growth. You have timestamps, but God doesn't operate on your timestamps. Number 8 is mind what you are eating. Your input is your output. I believe I touched on this in the beginning, but seriously, mind what you are eating or you're inputting. Your input is your output. This process is very draining, no matter what profession you are desired to get into. It's so draining to the point where your thoughts can take control over you. The things you watch can take control over you. Your company can. I, for one, was literally heavily, I don't know what your belief system is, I was heavily in my word. Bible plans, whatever it is. If I had to listen to sermons marked, by Pastor Michael Todd, there are so many resources out there, so many things that you can fill yourself up with goodness with. And you have to consider that, because you have to mind what you're putting into your body, what you're putting into your eyes, what you're putting into your ears, because what happens is that you start to become a byproduct of that. Number 9 is do not waste unnecessary money. This goes back to when I said do your research. PTCast wants your money. You have to be wise of what you're doing. If you feel like you need a Kaplan prep for GRE testing, go do that. But if you feel like you can wing it and use YouTube videos, do that. What I'm trying to say to you is that you have to look at certain things as an investment mindset, or with an investment mindset, and not just to waste money because, oh, this is an opportunity, I'm just going to take it, and you're not serious about it. And that brings me to the last thing, not the least thing, which is do not give up, okay? The worst thing you can do for yourself is give up. The worst thing you can do for other people is give up, because what you're sowing into this season is here to impact people, your family, your children, their children, and 1,000 generations. And so knowing that there's somebody literally depending on your yes. You may not know them, you may know them in the future, but there's somebody depending on your yes. So having that in mind, no, this is not about you. Yes, right now it's about you because you want to get into PT school, but in retrospect, this is not just for you. What you're doing today is literally serving other people. It's going to impact other people. It's going to bring you to places you wouldn't have imagined. You're going to meet people you would have never met and have an everlasting effect on them. So having that in mind, I know you sometimes want to just say, forget this, I'm tired, and you want to break. But let me tell you right now, feel that way. Feel that way. If you want to give up, tell yourself, I want to give up. Feel that way. I'm serious. But don't do the things that go with the verbiage. Do you see what I'm saying? You may want to give up, but don't start acting on that. You may say to yourself, this is a waste of my time, this is a waste of my money, but do not tell yourself that it's a waste to the point where you say, forget this and move on to something else. Unless that is your calling, unless that is your path, unless you realize that I don't want to do physical therapy, or I don't want to do OT, or I don't want to do pharmacy, whatever it is. Unless that's the case. But otherwise, do not give up. I believe you can make it. And like I said, if you got to this point, give it a thumbs up if you want to see more videos related to PT, related to whatever it is, because I have stories for days, and this is something that I definitely want to help you with, because this journey is a lot, and I understand that a lot of people have applications that have opened up already. So I will see you guys next time, and have a fabulous day. Bye.